am, like, entirely and fundamentally exhausted today.
Oh, I know. I can literally see it in your eyes.
Right. Mentally, physically, just molecularly drained. I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes today, and, like, literally not a single one of them was relaxing.
No, of course not. It's the ultimate chaotic Thursday.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the only thing keeping me attached to this earth right now is the fact that we get to sit down, pour a massive drink, and just completely psychoanalyze the absolute train wreck that is Married at First Sight Season 20.
It is honestly the best coping mechanism.
Because dissecting other people's catastrophic romantic choices is, like, the only way I can cope with my own reality.
I completely agree. You look like you're one mildly irritating email away from just, running into the woods to live as a feral woodland creature.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
But television has saved you.
It truly has. So, babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and honestly, watching strangers get married at first sight feels way less overwhelming than trying to figure out adulthood, fertility conversations, and, well, tomorrow's patient schedule.
Amen to that. Snark Squad, we are raising our glasses to you right now.
We are fully stocked with peach bellinis tonight.
Oh, the ice is crushed to absolute perfection. The peach puree is flowing like the gossip at a retirement home, and we are just toasting to the fact that you survived another workday.
You made it. We made it. Barely. But we are here, and the chaos is just waiting for us. Cheers to you, babes.
Cheers. Seriously, pour whatever you have. Water, wine, a Bellini, like a juice box. We do not judge here on the Snark Zone.
No judgment at all. We're just glad you're sitting with us as, like, our favorite third friend in the room, ready to decompress. Because, wow, today was just a lot.
A literal marathon.
It was. And before we get into the psychological warfare of these reality television marriages, we have to debrief. We need to do our highs and lows of the workday, dentist edition. Please, you go first. What was your high? And please, you have to tell me it involves a ridiculous patient because I need to laugh so hard I forget about my own schedule.
Oh, it absolutely does. My high today was just a textbook comedic masterpiece, like a true study in human defiance.
Oh, I love defiance.
Right. So I had a patient come in for a massive crown prep, and I apply the topical numbing gel, the heavy-duty pharmaceutical grade stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah. And I explicitly tell him, looking him dead in his eyes, I say, do not try to talk for the next 5 minutes.
Right. Because your mouth is going to feel like a heavy rubber boot.
Exactly. I'm like, let the medication work. But does he listen? Does anyone ever actually listen?
Never. The second you tell them not to move their tongue, it suddenly becomes an Olympic gymnast in there.
Literally. So 3 minutes in, his bottom lip is completely slouched to one side, completely devoid of sensation, and he decides this is the exact perfect moment to try and tell me a highly detailed, deeply passionate story.
About what?
About his dispute with his neighborhood homeowners association regarding the exact legal height of his cedar fence.
No, not the HOA drama.
Yes. He is passionately gesturing with his hands. His eyes are super wide with righteous indignation. And all that is coming out of his mouth is just, shad fence.
Oh my gosh, I am dying.
It was a literal waterfall of drool and vowels, just an absolute symphony of slurring.
How did you not lose it?
I was standing there holding the suction tube, but trying so hard to compartmentalize my hysterical laughter so I didn't completely lose my professional composure. My assistant had to physically turn away and face the wall.
Oh, her shoulders were definitely shaking.
Oh, violently shaking. It was a physical test of endurance for both of us.
That is incredible. The dedication to the neighborhood gossip, even through dental paralysis, is just something I deeply respect.
Right. You cannot silence a man who has been wronged by a zoning board.
You just can't. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, my high is somewhat related in terms of sheer relief. You know how stressful back-to-back extractions can be, right?
The worst, the physical toll it takes on your back, your neck, your soul.
Exactly. Well, I had this one today that looked like an absolute nightmare on the panoramic x-ray. Hooked roots, sitting perilously close to the mandibular nerve, just the whole 9 yards.
Oh, I'm sweating just thinking about that imaging.
I was sweating too. I numbed the patient, got my elevators ready, said a tiny prayer to the dental gods, applied like a fraction of a millimeter of pressure, and it literally just popped out.
No way.
Yes, like a perfectly ripe strawberry detaching from the vine.
Oh, the serotonin release. That is the most satisfying feeling in the entire world. Better than a successful first date.
Better than finding money in your winter coat pocket. So much better. It was so smooth, my hygienist and I literally locked eyes and did a silent, telepathic high five over the patient's head.
A miracle of modern dentistry.
Truly glorious.
Yeah.
But That was the absolute peak, because the low was hitting the wall at 2:30 p.m. with the force of a freight train.
Oh, the 2:30 slump is vicious. It's when the caffeine leaves your bloodstream and the existential dread just entirely takes over.
It wasn't even just a biological slump, though.
Yeah.
I had the most demanding, hyper-vigilant, high-maintenance patient in the chair for a full hour.
Oh, no. What did she do?
She questioned the angle of the overhead light, the exact temperature of the water in the rinse cup, and the playlist I had on Spotify.
The playlist.
Yes. She claimed the acoustic pop was elevating her cortisol levels. And then she even asked me, with complete sincerity, if the latex-free gloves I was wearing were gluten-free.
Stop it. Are you serious right now? The gloves.
Dead serious. And right at the exact moment she was complaining that the paper bib chain was pulling a single microscopic hair on the back of her neck, my brain just fully short-circuited.
You completely dissociated.
Completely. I was staring at her central incisors, nodding politely, and the only thought echoing in the cavern of my mind was, if I order the spicy rigatoni from that Italian place on Main Street right now, will it arrive exactly when I pull into my driveway? Right. Or do I need to schedule it for 6:15 to account for rush hour traffic?
It is a biological survival mechanism. Your brain literally has to detach from the present trauma, or you will throw a dental mirror across the operatory. You were just dissociating to protect your peace.
I really was. What was your low?
Mine was remarkably similar. Back-to-back-to-back appointments from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. No breaks, barely time to inhale a stale granola bar over the sink.
The glamorous life of healthcare.
Exactly. And by the time my 1:15 showed up, and she was 10 minutes late, by the way, casually strolling in with an iced venti Starbucks cup in hand.
Oh, I hate that so much.
I was running on pure, unadulterated spite and the lingering fumes of my morning espresso.
The iced coffee walk of shame when they were late for a medical appointment is literally my villain origin story.
The condensation on the cup is just mocking your schedule.
It really is.
Yeah.
But speaking of food, chaos, and scheduling, we absolutely have to talk about dinner with Allison.
Oh my God, our beloved producer, our unofficial therapist, and the resident chaos coordinator of our entire lives.
Snark Squad, you know Allison. She is the glue that keeps this entire operation from completely combusting into ash. We promised her a quick, relaxing catch-up dinner last night.
Which is a bold-faced lie that we all implicitly agree to participate in, because nothing with us is ever quick.
And it is certainly never relaxing. The baseline operating frequency for the three of us is just manic.
Manic. We sat down at the table, and before the poor waiter could even pour the tap water, the sheer volume of gossip that was aggressively exchanged across that table was staggering.
Staggering. I'm talking rapid fire, no breathing, intense life updates. It was an information dump of epic proportions.
And we ordered, like we were going to the electric chair, and this was our last meal on Earth.
Oh, so much food.
3 appetizers immediately, the calamari, the burrata, the truffle fries, 2 entrees to split, and the wine was just a continuous flowing river.
And Allison was sitting there trying to butter a piece of sourdough while simultaneously giving us profound clinical-level psychological advice about setting boundaries at work.
While meticulously analyzing our dating lives with the precision of a forensic scientist.
Yes, and coordinating our recording schedule for the next month. She is a master multitasker. We complained to her, affectionately of course, that we cannot have a simple 1-hour dinner.
Every single time we sit down, it spirals entirely out of control into a 3-hour marathon event.
By the time we finally paid the check, the restaurant staff was literally putting the chairs upside down on the tables around us.
It's because we have so much to unpack. Between the grueling reality of healthcare, this show, and our own mounting existential dread, it requires a minimum of 3 hours just to skim the surface.
It really does. And speaking of 3-hour gossip marathons, we cannot ignore the FaceTime call we got yesterday.
Oh, bless their hearts. Joan and Felicia, the absolute undisputed queens of the retirement home.
Babes, if you are new here, Joan and Felicia are our elderly, chaotic besties who live in an assisted living facility and have stronger tea than literally any Bravo reunion you have ever seen.
They have basically become honorary co-hosts at this point. They see all, they know all, and they judge all.
So we FaceTime them, right? And Joan immediately, without even saying a formal hello, starts accidentally roasting one of the nurses walking behind her in the hallway.
Joan didn't realize the iPad camera was angled up.
Right. And she's just muttering under her breath, look at her, walking around in those orthopedic sneakers like she owns the place.
I see. I spit my water completely across the room.
She is a sniper, a savage accidental sniper who takes no prisoners.
And then Felicia literally rips the iPad out of Joan's hands and demands our life updates with the aggressive, unyielding energy of a hostile reunion host.
She's squinting into the camera like, are you dating? Are you saving your money? Did you fix that one patient's overbite you were complaining about last week?
She remembers every single detail of our lives. She holds us accountable.
She really does. But then, of course, the conversation took a very sharp, very heavy turn. Felicia asked, point blank, without any transition, when are you two getting your lives together and having babies?
The existential spiral initiated. Immediate system overload.
Complete whiplash. Because, Snark Squad, I'm looking around my social circle right now, and all of a sudden, people our exact age are having literal, fragile human children.
They are bringing life into the world.
Yes, and I still feel emotionally 23. I still get a rush of pure joy when I find a crumpled $20 bill in my winter coat pocket. How on earth am I supposed to be responsible for the psychological and physical development of a human life?
It is the ultimate terrifying juxtaposition of our 30s. You are entrusted to perform minor surgical procedures on people's mouths daily. You wield a drill near major nerves.
True.
Yet the idea of keeping a Tamagotchi alive feels overwhelming, let alone a toddler. The fertility conversation is just so real, and it is absolutely everywhere right now.
It forces you to sit down in the quiet moments and ask yourself the terrifying questions. Like, do I actually want actual children? Do I just want the romanticized idea of children?
Or, if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, do we just want the ability to post aesthetically pleasing, tiny matching outfits on Instagram for the dopamine hit of the likes?
I am terrified it's just the matching outfits. I see a toddler in a miniature beige trench coat and little Chelsea boots on my feed, and my biological clock starts screaming.
Oh, the aesthetic is powerful.
I think, oh, I could curate that vibe. But then I am actually out in the wild, and I hear a child absolutely shrieking in the grocery store aisle because their mother wouldn't let them eat a squished, dirty grape off the linoleum floor.
And your uterus basically boards up its own windows and hangs a closed for business sign.
Exactly. But let's address the massive, unavoidable conflict here. The hot girl aesthetic debate. We were talking about this for a full hour at Allison's dinner.
Has society unfairly, insidiously convinced us that being a mother and maintaining the hot girl, unbothered, living my best life aesthetic are mutually exclusive?
Because sometimes, looking at the sheer logistics of motherhood, it feels like children are the ultimate anti-hot girl aesthetic.
I completely reject that premise on a soul level. I firmly believe hot girls can absolutely be moms.
You think so?
Yes. You can carry a diaper bag that is secretly a vintage Prada tote and still give off incredible, unbothered energy. You can be covered in spit up and still be a visionary.
But, I have to admit, it looks exhausting. It's the relentless sleep deprivation that ruins the aesthetic, really. You can't out-skincare a lack of REM sleep.
Well, it's the logistics that killed the vibe. It's the spit up on the silk blouse, yes, but it's also the scheduling. The endless, unrelenting, militant scheduling.
Right.
You can't just spontaneously fly to Cabo for a long weekend if you have to arrange a vetted sitter for a toddler who only eats dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets at exactly 6:12 p.m.
And only if they're cut into precise triangles.
Exactly. The spontaneity dies, and spontaneity is the core of the hot girl aesthetic.
Babes, we're trying to figure out if we want babies, freedom, sleep, or all three. And unfortunately, the universe has not provided a group discount.
You have to pay full price for whatever path you choose.
Truly, it hasn't. The cost of living is up. The cost of sanity is astronomically high. We are just out here doing our absolute best to navigate a world that demands we have it all figured out by yesterday.
But babes, enough about our dental exhaustion, Allison's dinner party chaos, Joan and Felicia's retirement home tea, and our massive fertility spirals.
Yes, let's get into Married at First Sight, where the couples are trying to build lifelong partnerships while we're still debating whether children fit the hot girl aesthetic.
Let's pivot to people whose lives are actively more chaotic than ours, which brings me immense comfort.
Immense comfort. Season 20, Episode 8, Romantic Sparks and Question Marks.
Let me set the stage for you, Snark Squad, because the tonal shift from last week is violently abrupt. The honeymoon glow is officially dead, buried, and actively decomposing in the sun.
Reality has kicked the front door down, and it is wearing steel-toed combat boots.
It is week 2. The couples are moving in together, they are facing their actual living situations, they're opening up about their bank accounts, and they're running face first into massive, deeply rooted intimacy blockades.
The vacation is over, and the terrifying reality of legal marriage to a stranger has set in. It is messy. It is so deeply structurally messy, I needed 2 Bellinis just to get through my notes.
Let's start right at the absolute top of the chaos pyramid, Shawn and Nikki. The war of the egos.
God, this couple. They're fascinating from a clinical perspective, but unbearable to watch. We have to start with their therapy session with the expert, Paul.
This is a masterclass in two people living in entirely separate, non-intersecting dimensions of reality.
So Paul sits them down on the couch, standard check-in, and asks them a very simple question. He says, rate your marriage on a scale of 1 to 10.
And Nikki, completely deadpan, her face devoid of any micro-expressions of hope, looks at the state of their union and gives it a dismal, tragic 2 out of 10.
A 2. A 2 means you are barely breathing. A 2 means the building is structurally compromised, actively on fire, but you haven't technically inhaled the lethal smoke yet.
You are just standing in the flames, acknowledging they are hot. It is a brutal assessment of a 2-week-old marriage.
It is an abysmal rating. It is a cry for help disguised as data. But then Shawn, sitting right next to her on the same couch, experiencing the exact same timeline, completely delusionally rates the marriage a 7.5.
I physically screamed at the television screen. A 7.5.
Shawn, babes, what marriage are you currently participating in? Are you hallucinating? Did you take laughing gas from my clinic before the session?
I will tell you exactly what is happening here from a purely analytical, psychological standpoint. Shawn treats this marriage, and specifically this therapy session, like a corporate performance review.
Oh, absolutely.
He wants to win therapy. He wants to look like the reasonable, optimistic, hardworking, emotionally evolved party in front of the camera and the expert.
Right, so rating it a 7.5 is his ego's way of saying, I am doing a phenomenal job, I am bringing the average up, and any failure here rests entirely on her inability to see my greatness.
It is ego preservation masquerading as optimism.
Oh, that makes me so incredibly mad. Because Nikki is sitting right there, vulnerable, saying she feels completely unseen, unheard, and undervalued as a human being.
And every single time she tries to explain why she feels that way, Shawn turns it into this massive philosophical dissertation.
He pontificates. Paul literally had to interject and call him out on it. Shawn claims that because of his childhood trauma of being the youngest sibling, he inherently needs to talk 50% of the time to feel heard. Otherwise, he feels dominated and silenced.
Which is such a textbook weaponized therapy speak deflection. Nikki is saying, I am hurting right now, and Shawn is saying, but let me present to you a 40-minute peer-reviewed PowerPoint presentation on the psychological underpinnings of my childhood communication deficits.
It is exhausting. It is an intellectualization of emotion to avoid actual intimacy. Paul had to force him to stop using overarching analytical terms and just use a simple I statement.
Shawn uses $10 words to buy distance from his wife.
But then, right after this catastrophic therapy session, they have this dinner date at their new apartment. Nikki cooks this beautiful meal, she pours whiskey, and babes, the label on the whiskey bottle was completely turned around so the camera couldn't see the brand.
Classic reality TV maneuver. Can't give away free advertising unless they are sponsoring the honeymoon.
Right. So they sit down, and they have this suspiciously perfect, completely PR-friendly conversation. They talk about being highly successful in a PASA, black professionals in positions of power, having to command rooms in their corporate careers, and how they need to proactively leave those big alpha egos at the door to make the marriage work.
It sounded beautiful. If you read the transcript of that dinner, it was poetry.
But watching it, it felt so incredibly produced. It felt rehearsed.
Because it was deeply performative, they are both incredibly smart, articulate, highly educated people. They know exactly how to speak in sound bites when they want to construct a narrative for the audience.
They wanted to project power couple overcoming obstacles rather than actually doing the messy work of being vulnerable.
Okay, but I have to step in and defend Nikki a little bit here because I actually feel for her. Yes, her corporate HR energy is incredibly heavy. She treats Shawn like he's a mid-level employee on a PIP, a performance improvement plan.
Oh, she definitely does. She is constantly evaluating him.
But I truly believe she's doing that because his fake, booming pastor persona is suffocating her. He talks at her, not to her. He gives sermons in the kitchen.
I would put my HR hat on, too, if I was trying to manage that level of unearned ego.
She is trying to find a metric to hold him accountable to because his words are just word salad.
I don't disagree that Shawn's pastor voice is exhausting. It feels like he's always standing at a pulpit, expecting a choir to back him up. It lacks any casual intimacy. But Nikki is not innocent in this dynamic.
No, definitely not.
She absolutely refuses to soften her edges. She says she wants to defer to him as the leader of the household, But the second he actually tries to lead a conversation or make a decision, she deeply resents it because she is so fundamentally used to being the boss in every room she enters.
They are two alphas, completely neutralizing each other. It is a stalemate of egos. Neither will surrender, so they will both lose the war.
A 2 out of 10 and a 7.5, they are not even reading the same book, let alone on the same page. The cognitive dissonance is just staggering.
We need to transition seamlessly from the subtle delusion of Shawn and Nikki to the overt, fiery self-sabotage of our next couple.
Because while Nikki masks her emotions with corporate speak, Courtney is just actively burning the entire building down.
Let's talk about Courtney and Nick, the self-sabotage express.
This is a masterclass in avoidant attachment manifesting as sheer hostility. Let's start with the Keanu Reeves incident, which belongs in a museum of awkward television.
I cannot believe this happened on my television screen. Nick is trying to make basic, normal, low-stakes human conversation in the kitchen. He brings up a Keanu Reeves movie, a universal cultural touchstone.
And Courtney looks at him like he just spoke ancient Aramaic backwards. She claims she has absolutely no idea who Keanu Reeves is.
Which, fine, let's suspend our disbelief and say she doesn't watch movies. But then, to figure out who he is, she doesn't use Google Images like a normal person looking for a face.
No, she types his name into ChatGPT and then actively complains that the text-based AI is not giving her photos of the actor.
Who does that? It was the most bizarre, intentionally disengaged behavior. She was actively trying to kill the conversation by making it as difficult as possible.
She acts confused on purpose when things are going too smoothly, just to shut Nick down. But that was just the appetizer of her dysfunction. The main course was the Oregon road trip to meet her family.
Ah, the road trip. This was a symphony of self-sabotage. They arrive at her family's house in Oregon. As they are walking up the driveway to the front door, Nick goes to hold her hand.
A standard, supportive, entirely appropriate married couple gesture when meeting the in-laws for the first time.
Exactly. And she physically recoils. She drops his hand and literally says out loud, "They'll make fun of us."
Why would your own parents make fun of you for holding your husband's hand? Unless they know that you despise affection, which is a whole other deeper psychological issue.
But then they get inside the house. Nick is being incredibly charming. He's fitting in. He's making the dad laugh.
And Courtney sees this going well, panics, pulls her sister aside in the hallway, and literally begs her to grill him and find something wrong.
She's desperate for her family to validate her internal narrative that Nick is terrible, because if Nick is terrible, she doesn't have to be vulnerable.
And it gets so much worse. Nick gets up from the living room to go to the bathroom. The second, and I mean the literal second, he is out of earshot, Courtney leans into her family circle and enthusiastically says, "Let's talk shit about Nick."
And the family just looks at her like she has three heads. They're like, why? We actually love him. He's great. He brought a nice bottle of wine.
Her own dad calls her out right there at the table for nitpicking and trying to invent problems where none exist. Her family sees right through her defense mechanisms.
And then the absolute piece de resistance of unhinged subconscious hostility, the knife drop.
Oh my God, the knife. I had to rewind my TV 3 times to ensure I wasn't hallucinating.
They're all sitting at the dinner table. Courtney's mom asks someone to pass a knife.
And Courtney picks up a sharp steak knife, and instead of passing it handle first around the table like a civilized human being, she reaches completely over Nick's plate, directly across his chest, with the sharp blade pointed completely upward.
It was a literal occupational safety hazard. I was watching it thinking about OSHA violations.
It was so incredibly aggressive. It wasn't just poor etiquette. It was a subconscious, physical manifestation of her utter disdain for him and her desire to push him away. She weaponized cutlery to create physical distance.
Look, I am going to try and give Courtney a tiny, microscopic bit of grace here because my heart hurts for her inner child.
Okay, let's hear it.
In her solo confessional, she admits she hasn't been loved correctly in a very long time. Her last serious relationship was 3 years ago, and even then she admitted the guy was just sort of around.
Right, he never took her on proper dates, he never integrated her into his life, he never met her family.
She has deep, unhealed trauma around emotional vulnerability and being chosen. She shuts down and pushes people away so they don't have the opportunity to leave her first. It's a preemptive strike. I deeply sympathize with that paralyzing fear of abandonment.
You are being entirely too generous. I understand the clinical roots of her behavior, but I will be ruthless here in my assessment of her actions. Courtney is the villain of her own story right now.
She is acting terribly, yes.
Yes, trauma is real and it beautifully explains behavior, but it does absolutely not excuse you treating a genuinely kind, patient guy like he is radioactive waste. She is desperately searching for an exit strategy that absolves her of guilt.
That's true. She wanted her family to hate him so she could throw up her hands and say, oh, well, my family didn't approve, so my hands are tied. I have to end the marriage.
And when they refused to give her that out, her brain short-circuited and she resorted to waving knives around. She needs intensive, heavily documented therapy to unpack her avoidant attachment, not a reality TV marriage where another person's heart is on the line.
You are right. The impact on Nick is unfair, but my heart still breaks for both of them. Nick asked the experts for someone who would challenge him, but he didn't ask for someone who would hold a knife blade up across his chest at a family dinner.
Now, from Courtney's sheer disgust of physical touch, we need to transition to the exact opposite end of the spectrum, where physical touch is the only language being spoken, to the detriment of everything else.
Let's talk about Felipe and Tori, the fading spark.
This is a classic tragic case of a man who fundamentally does not understand the difference between building long-term companionship and chasing a neurological dopamine hit.
Felipe sits down with his dad for a beer, and he admits that ever since Tori pulled back from physical intimacy, which is her absolute right to do, by the way, he is terrified that his passion for her will run out.
He literally views passion purely as a sexual transaction. If they are not physically intimate on a daily basis, his brain registers that the relationship is dying. It's such a juvenile, biologically reductive way to view a lifelong partnership.
But what really set off massive alarm bells for me was his confessional to the camera. He casually, almost cheerfully, mentions that he has to really focus on being monogamous in this marriage because his brain is so used to the constant dopamine hit of conquering new women.
A giant, neon, flashing red flag that can be seen from space. If you have to actively concentrate and expend mental energy to not cheat on your wife on week 2 of your marriage, you should not be legally bound to another human being.
Your prefrontal cortex is losing the battle to your evolutionary biology, and you are not ready for a mature commitment.
Exactly. You are a walking flight risk. But I absolutely loved his dad in this scene. His dad dropped some incredible grounded wisdom.
Oh, the dad was great.
He looked at Felipe and told him, listen, son, the initial spark does not last 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have to invest in companionship. Your partner should feel like a safe place, not a constant thrill ride.
His dad completely gets it. He understands the assignment of marriage.
It's a shame those genetics skipped a generation in terms of emotional intelligence.
Meanwhile, while Felipe is sweating over his inability to remain faithful without daily physical validation, Tori is outside on the balcony, swooning over Felipe's mom.
She is totally oblivious to the fact that her husband is inside having an existential crisis over whether he can physically restrain his wandering eye because he hasn't been touched in 72 hours.
But let me pose a theory to you, because I am trying to read Tori's body language. Is she genuinely pulling back due to pure organic anxiety about the cameras and the speed of the marriage? Or is she just going through the motions to stay on television?
She seems so incredibly disconnected from him emotionally, even when she's showering his family with praise. There's a glass wall between them.
I think it's a somatic response. I think she is overwhelmed, yes, but I also think her subconscious sees the massive red flags that we see plainly on the screen.
Oh, absolutely.
Felipe is essentially a walking, talking bachelor party. He exudes this restless, predatory energy of a man looking for the next hit. I think Tori probably feels that underlying energy, and her nervous system is instinctively protecting her by pulling back and shutting down the physical connection.
I think cognitively she wants the marriage to work on paper, but her body is actively rejecting his presence.
That makes total sense. Her body knows what her mind hasn't accepted yet.
Speaking of bodies rejecting environments, we have to move from Felipe's emotional immaturity to a man whose physical immaturity is literally built into his real estate. Let's talk about Adam and Marissa, city girl versus swamp boy.
The visual contrast of this couple's living situations is staggering. It is a comedic tragedy. We start at Marissa's place. She has this gorgeous, minimalist, pristine, totally adult apartment right in the heart of the city.
It looks like a West Elm catalog. It screams, I have my life together and I contribute to a 401k.
Then the producers expertly cut to Adam's place.
The lake shed. The swamp shack.
It is a shack. Let's not mince words and call it what it is. A wooden shack on the edge of murky water with a literal flapping blue tarp for a roof.
The yard is surrounded by expensive adult toys like jet skis, boats, trailers, and the cherry on top. He's a roommate, a grown man in a tarp-roofed shed with a roommate.
which he casually glosses over like it's totally normal for a married man, and his grand, masterful plan for their financial future. He looks Marissa in the eye and says he wants her to give up her beautiful, clean city life, move into his carp-roof shack with him and his random roommate for an entire year.
So they can save her rent money to buy a sick house that has a bigger garage for more jet skis.
It is the most glaring manifestation of Peter Pan syndrome I have ever seen documented on television. It is Peter Pan syndrome manifesting as a real estate portfolio.
He absolutely refuses to grow up or prioritize adult stability over his toys. And what's worse, he uses immature frat boy humor as a shield for every single moment of genuine connection. Remember the art date.
How could I ever forget the trauma of the art date? They are sitting in a park painting portraits of each other. It's supposed to be romantic. Marissa takes it seriously. She paints a really cute, sweet, flattering portrait of him.
Then Adam turns his canvas around. He has drawn Marissa as a literal, grotesque monster with a massive, exaggerated overbite, and he wrote the word cooked in huge block letters at the top.
It was so deeply insulting. He disguised it as a joke, but it was just mean-spirited, and it perfectly illustrates his constant pathological need to perform for an invisible audience.
He can't just sit in a sweet, genuine, vulnerable moment with his wife. He feels exposed, so he has to turn it into a frat boy bit to regain control of the dynamic.
And the massage scene, oh my God. He is giving her what is supposed to be a romantic massage on the bed in his shed, and his cat is literally lounging right there on the mattress, inches from her face.
Marissa has well-documented, severe, medically diagnosed cat allergies. She has told him this multiple times.
He fundamentally does not care. It's Adam's world, and Marissa is just expected to pop a Benadryl, suffer through the hives, and deal with it.
My analytical take on Adam is that he uses his Joker persona to avoid any real intimacy, compromise, or accountability. If he keeps everything a joke, if he's always the class clown, he never has to sit down and have a serious, sobering conversation about why a 30-something man is living under a piece of blue plastic.
But what genuinely terrifies me is Marissa's reaction to all of this. She is way too agreeable. She just laughs it off nervously. She's sitting on the couch saying, "Ah, ha, ha. Well, maybe I could live in the shed for a year if it means we get our dream house."
No, Marissa, wake up. Do not give up your gorgeous, independent city life for a man who draws you with a severe facial deformity for a laugh and thinks a blue tarp is adequate protection from the elements.
I want to reach through the screen and shake her. She's abandoning herself to keep the peace.
She desperately needs boundaries, and he desperately needs a reality check from a loan officer.
Now, from a woman who is far too accommodating of a man's financial disaster, we must transition to a woman who is the exact opposite. Someone whose financial boundaries are so rigid, they are actively crushing her new husband.
Let's pivot to Cameron and Michelle, the $150K expectation.
This scene was physically painful to watch. I had secondhand embarrassment sweating through my shirt. They're on a very cute, very calm date, painting pottery flamingos, having a nice time.
And the conversation naturally turns to finances and the future. Michelle casually, almost breezily, reveals that when she went through the intense casting process for the show, she explicitly told the expert matchmakers she wanted a man who makes a minimum of $150,000 a year.
Context is incredibly important here before we judge her. She works in high-level tech recruiting in Seattle, which is a notoriously high cost of living tech hub. She is likely making that much herself, or very close to it, and she is simply asking for an equal partner financially so she doesn't have to downgrade her established lifestyle.
Logically, the math checks out.
Right. Logically, yes, but emotionally, devastating. Because Cameron is a community college basketball coach living in Portland. He is passionate, he is kind, but he emphatically does not make $150,000 a year.
And you could literally see his soul detach from his physical body when she said that number out loud. He visibly shrank into his chair. He looked at his flamingo like he wanted it to swallow him whole.
He admits later in his confessional that he felt completely, utterly emasculated in that exact moment.
It's the brutal collision of modern dating expectations and deeply ingrained traditional gender roles. Michelle has a firm financial boundary, which is her right as an independent woman. But society has hardwired men like Cameron from birth to believe that their fundamental worth in a relationship is inextricably tied to their ability to be the financial provider.
When he realizes on camera that he cannot meet her baseline financial floor, his entire ego crumbles into dust. He feels like a failure before the marriage even begins.
Michelle is smart. She instantly realizes she hurt him, and she totally backpedals. She tries to put the toothpaste back in the tube. She says, "Oh, I feel so safe with you. Your heart is what matters. The money doesn't actually matter."
But the damage is completely done. You cannot unring that 150K bell. It is now vibrating in the air between them forever.
And then, as if the financial tension wasn't enough to add to the chaos, Michelle casually drops another bomb. She admits that in her past relationships, she used to be the kind of girlfriend who would text a guy 25 times in a row if he didn't answer right away.
25 times. That is not a quirky communication style. That is a digital hostage situation.
Oh, completely.
If my phone pings 25 times consecutively from the exact same person, I am assuming someone is actively on fire or has been kidnapped by a cartel. It is a terrifying level of hypervigilance.
It shows severe, unhealed, anxious attachment. Her nervous system perceives silence as an immediate threat of abandonment, so she engages in protest behavior like spamming the phone to force a connection.
But I want to debate the salary requirement with you because this is a hot topic. Do you think it's fair for Michelle to demand a specific 150K salary in a blind marriage experiment where the whole point is trusting the process?
I think it's highly practical for her life, but terrible strategy for reality television. If you want to maintain a certain affluent lifestyle in Seattle, math is unforgiving. You need a specific combined income.
But bringing it up while painting a ceramic flamingo to a guy who coaches community college sports is a massive tactical error in emotional intelligence.
It should have been handled delicately off camera, or she shouldn't have trusted television producers whose primary goal is ratings, not her financial security, to meet that specific metric.
I just felt so bad for Cameron. He is such a sweet, genuine guy, and he looked like a kicked puppy sitting there holding his paintbrush.
Now, from a couple struggling with financial intimacy, we have to talk about a couple entirely blocked by physical intimacy. Let's unpack Mecca and Belle, the intimacy roadblocks.
This was a heavy, heavy segment. It felt almost too intimate for television. They sit down for an intense therapy session with Dr. Lisa, and Dr. Lisa, to her credit, pulls absolutely no punches.
She immediately calls out Mecca for that horrific, toxic question he asked Bill Jolie on the honeymoon. Who do you think is more attracted to the other?
It was such a manipulative trap question designed to soothe his own insecurities at her expense. And Mecca, surprisingly, owns it and admits he shouldn't have asked it.
But then the conversation turns to the core issue. Their physical intimacy, or rather, the absolute chilling lack thereof. Mecca admits he suffers from intense sexual anxiety and a massive, paralyzing fear of not performing well enough for her. But he tries to defend himself by claiming they kiss all the time.
And Dr. Lisa calls his bluff immediately. She doesn't let him hide behind the word kiss. She leans in and says, "What kind of kisses, Mecca?"
And he sheepishly admits, forehead kisses.
And Dr. Lisa, with the precision of a surgeon, says, "I give my children forehead kisses. That is maternal. That is comforting. That is absolutely not romantic adult intimacy."
It was a brutal, necessary reality check. He was infantilizing the relationship to avoid adult vulnerability.
It gets so much crazier because Belle Jolie is sitting right there on the couch next to him, looking gorgeous, and she looks at Dr. Lisa and says she has given him the complete, unequivocal green light, full enthusiastic consent.
The door is wide open, the path is clear, but Mecca is totally, physically frozen. His body will not let him cross the threshold.
So Dr. Lisa prescribes them behavioral homework. Go home, set the mood, remove the pressure of intercourse, and just try to break down this physical wall through sensual touch.
We see them later that night. They are in bed. They are wearing luxurious robes. The candles are lit. The lighting is dim. The romantic vibe is perfectly set. And what do?
They completely panic and clumsily deflect from the sexual tension by talking about how many theoretical children they want in the future. He says he wants 2, she says she wants 4.
It was so incredibly awkward. The air was thick with avoidance.
It was a massive subconscious defense mechanism. They were so terrified of actually touching each other, of facing that vulnerability, that they intellectualized the moment by talking about hypothetical future offspring.
They projected their focus 10 years into the future so they wouldn't have to deal with the terrifying present moment of being alone in a bed together.
But I have to ask you this because my empathetic heart is battling my cynical brain. Is Mecca genuinely crippled by deep-seated childhood abandonment trauma and clinical sexual anxiety, which I am very sympathetic to?
Sure.
Or is he just fundamentally not physically attracted to her, and he is making up complex psychological excuses to avoid looking like the superficial bad guy on national television?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I tend to lean towards the latter, based purely on behavioral patterns. When a heterosexual man is given a neon-flashing, enthusiastic green light by a beautiful, willing woman in a candlelit room, and he aggressively hits the brakes and puts the car in park, it almost always means he doesn't want to drive on that specific road.
I think the sexual anxiety label is a very convenient modern shield. It sounds clinical, it sounds therapy approved, and most importantly, it sounds beyond his conscious control.
That protects his ego from having to look a nice woman in the face and say the painful truth, I'm just not feeling it.
That breaks my heart for Belle Jolie because she is trying so incredibly hard to be patient and accommodating, and she's just being met with a brick wall.
Okay, from a couple blocked by internal anxiety, let's look at a couple being destroyed by external forces. The final couple, Devon and Caitlyn, the anti-marriage friends.
I have never, in my years of watching reality television, seen a group of friends actively hate the institution of marriage as much as Caitlyn's friends do. They are an echo chamber of marital disdain.
Devon goes to Caitlyn's spin class to support her, which he survives because he's a former athlete, and then they all sit down for smoothies with her core friend group. And these women are hyper-independent to the point of being violently anti-partner.
One friend literally brags with a massive smile on her face that she was away from her husband for an entire month, and when he called to say he wanted to stay in Vegas longer, she was absolutely thrilled to not have him around the house. She celebrated his absence.
Devon's face during this conversation was a masterpiece of pure, unadulterated horror. You could see him mentally calculating his escape route. He is a guy who entered this experiment because he desperately wants a teammate. He wants to be with his wife.
And he finds himself sitting across from a coven of women who treat their husbands like annoying, messy roommates they are legally bound to tolerate.
And then, the friends decide to actively roast Devon on camera. They go after his bleached blonde hair, laughing and saying it looks like he's 17 years old and it's so high school.
It wasn't playful banter. It was deeply mean-spirited and designed to emasculate him in front of his new wife.
And the most tragic part, Caitlyn just sits there and lets it happen. She continues to use this I'm a slow burn excuse to keep Devon at arm's length. She claims she wants to find a balance, but she is clearly heavily influenced, if not completely brainwashed, by these friends who view emotional detachment and cruelty as a personality trait.
Devon is slowly realizing, with growing dread, that he didn't just marry Caitlyn. He married into a friend group that actively roots against male vulnerability and intimacy.
It was painful to watch a good guy get torn down by the peanut gallery. Okay, babes, we have thoroughly unpacked the trauma, the egos, and the avoidant attachments. Now it is time to synthesize this chaos. We are moving into segment 1, marriage report card.
We are going to rapid-fire grade these disasters, A through F, on 5 critical categories: communication, chemistry, effort, emotional maturity, and long-term potential. Let's argue about these grades. You want to take communication.
Gladly. Shawn and Nikki get a hard, resounding F for communication. They don't communicate. They litigate. They speak like two rival corporate lawyers trying to win a hostile settlement. There is zero vulnerability.
Cameron and Michelle, surprisingly, get a B. Why? Because even though the $150K conversation was excruciatingly painful, they actually spoke their truths and discussed hard things instead of hiding them.
Courtney and Nick, F-. Typing your husband's name into ChatGPT to avoid asking him a question does not count as marital communication.
Highly accurate. I will take chemistry. I am giving Mecca and Belle Jolie an A for raw physical chemistry potential. Like, you can physically feel the tension radiating off them in that bedroom. But they get an F for execution because forehead kisses are for toddlers, not wives.
Felipe and Tori get a C. The initial spark was there on day 1, but it is fading fast as Tori's nervous system realizes he's a flight risk. Adam and Marissa get a D. Their chemistry feels entirely platonic, like a frat bro and a sorority pledge joking around, not a married couple building a life.
Moving to effort, Nick gets an absolute undeniable A for effort. The man is trying to scale a brick wall covered in barbed wire, and Courtney keeps pouring boiling oil on him, but he keeps smiling.
Courtney gets a Z-. She is actively digging a subterranean tunnel to escape the marriage. Devon also gets an A for sitting through that brutal mean girl interrogation by Caitlyn's anti-marriage friends without storming out of the juice bar.
For emotional maturity, Adam gets an immediate F for the grotesque cooked painting and forcing his allergic wife to endure a cat massage. Shawn gets a solid D for absolutely refusing to drop the condescending pastor voice and speak to his wife like an equal.
Michelle gets a C. Asking for $150K on camera is incredibly bold and borderline tacky, but acknowledging later that she hurt Cameron's feelings showed at least a glimmer of self-awareness and growth.
Finally, long-term potential. Who actually stands a snowball's chance in hell? Honestly, maybe just Cameron and Michelle if they can miraculously sort out the geographic differences and the massive income disparity.
The rest of these couples are standing on the slanting deck of the Titanic, passionately arguing about the temperature of the ocean water while the ship goes down.
That imagery is chillingly accurate. Which brings us perfectly to segment 2, Couples Therapy Corner. We are channeling our inner Dr. Paul and Dr. Lisa, putting on our imaginary cardigans and fixing these people.
For each couple, we are diagnosing the biggest issue, prescribing the immediate conversation they need to have tonight, highlighting one thing they're doing well, and giving our brutally honest advice. Let's start with Felipe and Tori. The diagnosis for the biggest issue.
Felipe's restless, wandering eye and his toxic equation of physical sex to emotional love, the immediate conversation they need. Tori needs to sit him down at the kitchen table, look him dead in the eye, and explicitly ask, "Are you going to cheat on me if my body needs a break and we don't have sex this week?" Call out the elephant in the room.
And one thing they are doing well. Tori is integrating beautifully and respectfully with his family. She's building a village. My brutally honest advice: I want to wrap Tori in a blanket, hug her, and tell her that she does not have to be a rehabilitation center for a man's rampant sex addiction. What's your advice for him?
I want to forcefully send Felipe a shared, color-coded Google Calendar, charting out exactly what companionship looks like outside of the bedroom, with mandated, strictly non-sexual intimacy activities scheduled daily. Tuesday at 6 p.m., ask your wife about her day without touching her.
Oh, a regimented Google Calendar is his absolute worst nightmare. He would break out in hives. Okay, Adam, Marissa, diagnosis for the biggest issue. Adam's terminal Peter Pan syndrome and refusal to embrace adulthood.
The immediate conversation. Marissa needs to find her spine, look him in the eye and say, "I am not moving into a shed with a blue tarp, ever, under any circumstances."
One thing they are doing well, they actually have a very natural, easy banter when he's not intentionally being offensive for laughs. Brutally honest advice. Marissa, pack your bags and run back to your beautiful, clean apartment. Adam, you need to grow up, sell a jet ski, buy some drywall, and become a man before you drag a nice woman into your swamp.
Shawn and Nikki. The biggest issue. Ego. Massive, unchecked, corporate-sized egos blocking the door to their hearts. The immediate conversation they need to sit down on the couch and speak without using a single buzzword. No holding space, no relinquishing power, no synergy. Just talk like two normal humans who are scared of getting hurt.
Doing well. That PR-friendly dinner was beautifully executed from a visual standpoint. Even if it was fake, they looked phenomenal on camera. They know how to host. Brutally honest advice. I want to clinically schedule their arguments. 15 minutes each to state their case, with a hard stop, moderated by an aggressive egg timer. When it sings, you stop talking.
Yes. Force them to be concise. Okay, let's pivot to segment 3. Red flag, green flag, or just panicking. We have 4 wild internet-breaking moments from this week, and we have to definitively categorize them. Moment 1, Michelle boldly demanding a $150K salary from a community college coach. What is the verdict?
I see it's a complex mix. It's a green flag for a woman fiercely knowing her worth and understanding the harsh economic reality of her city, but it's ultimately panicking because she's projecting her deep fear of future instability onto Cameron on week 2 of a blind marriage. She's trying to control the uncontrollable.
I agree, it's financial panic masquerading as a boundary. Moment 2, Courtney casually passing the sharp steak knife over Nick, blade pointed directly up at his jugular.
Definite red flag. Full, undeniable safety hazard. It's subconscious, simmering hostility manifesting in the physical world. She wants to hurt him before he can hurt her.
Total glaring red flag.
Yep.
Moment 3, Mecca offering timid forehead kisses instead of engaging in real adult intimacy with his willing wife.
Panicking. I think he is deeply, genuinely panicking due to his self-diagnosed sexual performance anxiety. But if he doesn't actively work through it immediately, it is rapidly calcifying into a red flag for Belgian self-esteem.
And moment 4, the delusion of the century. Shawn rating the marriage a robust 7.5 while his wife, sitting inches away, rates it a tragic 2.
Red flag for pure, unadulterated narcissistic delusion. He is completely, profoundly disconnected from his partner's emotional state. He's living in a simulation of his own design.
Couldn't agree more. All right, babes, we have survived the recap, which means it is time for our final segment, segment 4, Decision Day Delusions. We are going to look deep into our crystal balls, factor in their psychological profiles, and predict the future. Who has the absolute best chance of surviving this experiment?
Based on everything we've analyzed today, I confidently predict Michelle and Cameron are the only couple who actually survive this bloodbath. Once they get past the brutal ego bruising of the income gap, they actually share a very solid foundation of mutual respect.
I can absolutely see that. They are the only ones capable of real repair. Now, who is heading for absolute, undeniable disaster?
Joan and Nikki. I confidently predict they don't even make it to the couches on decision day. They will self-destruct weeks early. Their realities are simply too far apart. You cannot engineer a bridge to span the gap between a 2 and a 7.5. The structural integrity is compromised. They will mutually agree to fire each other.
I think they pull the plug early, too. It's just too toxic. What about the biggest surprise relationship? Who might shock us?
Mecca and Belle. The physical block seems utterly insurmountable right now, but the underlying trauma bond they share, their mutual fear of rejection, is clinically fascinating. If Dr. Lisa can help them crack that somatic code, they might shock everyone and fall deeply in love.
I want them to make it so badly, I am rooting for her happiness. Okay, give me one completely ridiculous, unhinged prediction that somehow, in this chaotic universe, feels possible.
I predict that Courtney finally snaps, officially leaves Nick, realizes she actually hates the pressure of the city and emotional depth, and runs off with Adam so she can live in the lake shack, avoid all serious adult conversations, and just ride jet skis in a state of arrested development until she's 50.
Oh my gosh, Courtney and Adam in the blue tarp shed. Two avoiding life together. It is a match made in chaotic reality TV heaven. The ultimate plot twist.
It makes entirely too much psychological sense. They deserve each other. Babes, this recap was a marathon of emotional damage, and I feel significantly better about my own life choices. But before we let you go back to the real world, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over.
I want you to really, truly picture this in your mind. If you were forced, by some bizarre twist of fate, to live in a swampy lake shack with a blue tarp roof and a random roommate for an entire year, but it guaranteed you could save enough money for your absolute no-compromises dream house, would you do it?
Or would you run screaming back to your overpriced, tiny, financially draining city apartment?
I am taking the overpriced city apartment every single time without a moment of hesitation. I require indoor plumbing, central air conditioning, and a minimum of 5 miles of distance from feral wildlife. My peace is not for sale.
See, I think I could do the shed. It's just a year. It's an adventure. It's character building.
You would last exactly 45 minutes before a mosquito bit you, you saw a spider the size of a Buick, and you called a car to take you back to civilization.
You know what? That is a completely fair and accurate assessment of my resilience. Snark Squad, we need to hear from you. Sound off to us. We want to know. What was the high and low of your workday?
Did you have a slurring dental patient or maybe just a terrible soul-crushing Zoom meeting that could have been an email?
And we need to settle this debate once and for all. Do you think raising kids and maintaining the hot girl aesthetic can coexist? Or is it a myth?
And finally, based on the absolute carnage we witnessed this week, which married at first sight couple are you still actively rooting for if any of them have actually managed to earn your support?
Thank you so much for sitting with us, for drinking your Bellinis with us, and for surviving another chaotic week on this spinning rock. Grab your cocktail glass, finish it off, and remember.
Stay hopeful, stay chaotic, and we'll see you on the snark side.